How have you found your personal brand synergising your corporate brand? How does that work for you? Because you obviously got gregsavage.com.
Yeah.
You've got Aquint, which is the corporate brand. How do you find that synergy between those two? Do you think it detracts, or do you think it adds to the brand of both?
I think it works exceptionally well. While the brand of the blog is Greg Savage, in fact it's the Savage Truth we call it, and the Twitter account is in my name. I do identify myself as the CEO of Aquint, and while I don't tweet on behalf of Aquint, I would never tweet something that wasn't consistent with what we're trying to achieve at this company. So it's very much a corporate Twitter account, and it's worked exceptionally well. I had within the small domain of the recruitment industry quite a high offline brand, because I've been a speaker and a high profile person. To be able to translate that to online has been a revelation to me, and what it's done a number of things. It's allowed me to interact with our industry, which has brought a lot of actual hires to our company. So people we want to hire have got to know us, and whenever I've interviewed someone in the last 6 months for our company, without fail, they've read my blog from beginning to end, because they have tried to understand what we're about. So there's already a synergy and an understanding. So it's been very powerful from that point of view. It's also allowed me to interact a lot with customers. Daily I'll get a tweet from someone asking about an inquiry for a job, or possibly lodging a vacancy with us because of my following on my blog, and which I then distribute to our business. Other sort of sideline issues, I get a lot of requests to speak at events, and all that has come from the online branding and a lot of publicity. I mean, my blog, which I write for the blog followers, every second article is republished in the media, the recruitment media, which is wonderful for Aquint's branding. I mean, it is the CEO of Aquint making these statements. So only this Monday, it was published in the leading online recruitment magazine in Australia.
So what's happening is your blog, your online blog, is actually being put into the mass media as well. So it's actually multiple source. So online's working with offline well, by the sounds of it.
Very, very well. When you say the mass media, I mean, I'm not talking about the Times of London or even the Sydney Morning Herald very often. It's the marketing and design media and the recruitment media. But then again, that's all I really want to talk to. So it's very effective.
What do you see the future for your own blog and Twitter, and also the company with social media? What do you see happening in the next 12 months to 2 years? And also in your industry very much, I read an article on the weekend in the Sydney Morning Herald where it actually mentioned that the CV is dead, which I found quite fascinating. Is so getting a personal brand online rather than just a bit of paper. So I found it really interesting. So in your industry, what's happening is very much the forefront of branding for individuals and executives. So where do you see the next 12 months to 2 years for the company in its use of social media in your industry?
Well, look, we've got a lot to learn, a lot of decisions to make, but as far as the company is concerned, I see it as being absolutely key to our branding and marketing strategy. So right now, for example, we've already promoted the brands of our recruiters. If you go to our website, each recruiter has their own personalized URL. Their picture is there. And we invite our customers, and by that I mean our candidates and our clients, to engage with them in traditional ways, telephone, email, but also to engage them via all the social media platforms. And so we have enhanced the brand of the individual, because our whole view is that, and this is going to sound contrary to a believer in social media or in technology, I believe that job boards don't find people jobs, people find people jobs. And so therefore we need to promote a connection between our customer and our person, and we're going to facilitate that. I see video as being the next stage, both in our corporate strategy, but also you talked about me individually. You know, I have to weigh up the benefits with the time. It's a massive, I struggle to do, shouldn't say this to the world, I struggle to do my job as it is, without getting seduced totally by social media. So I think what I'll be doing is enhancing the blog, definitely through video. I'm looking at YouTube. I think that's very powerful to get messaging across. I think it's very appealing, and I think it's very viral. And the other thing, so the blog will continue, and I think Twitter, it's now become a snowball. The followers I get, apart from the few cranks that you get on Twitter and people trying to sell you stuff, the vast majority are in my target market. And so I will continue to engage with our customers and potential hires and potential acquisitions through Twitter. I have learned in the last year to embrace new things. I think I've always done that, but I think there are a lot of people in my generation who still think social media are for their teenage daughters, and it is definitely not that. It is that, but it's more than that.
Yes. Just last question I'd ask you is, so what was one tip that you give to other CEOs and executives in terms of social media and
Yes.
how they should be using it?
I think it follows on from what I've just said. First of all, is take it seriously. It's not a fad. It's not trivial. It can be used trivially, but so can the telephone. So can email. It can also be used as an incredibly powerful business tool. I would say, don't underestimate the effect on your brand, both in a negative and a positive way that social media can have. I think traditional PR and traditional marketing is going to become less important compared to word of mouth and the speed. When I say word of mouth, I mean social media. The speed of bad press on social media. My tip to CEOs would be, get to understand it yourself. Don't ask your marketing person to give you a report. I know more about social media than my marketing person, in a sense. She would dispute that, because I use it every day, and I have a bigger following. I write a blog, which no one else does in my company, apart from the corporate blog. And so I actually understand, I think, I'm no expert, but I understand how it can impact. And I think it has, especially for people who are trying to engage with a target market and people who are trying to engage with their staff across big geography, it's the best tool that I have seen to reconnect me with those people. And it can be incredibly influential. I mean, I go to our London office and people quote my blog back to me. It's very exciting, because you know that they're thinking about what you're saying.
Yeah. So it's very influential and basically synergises and enhances your brand as well as the company's brand. So what you're really saying is, dive in, start using it and learn from that.
I'd say invest the time, Jeff.
Yep.
And it's not something you can do for a week or a month.
No.
I think you've really got, and initially when you do it, you will feel compelled to do something that you think is more immediately important, like going to see a customer or dealing with some financing issue or whatever, and they are important. What I've done is actually allocate a chunk of my time to social media, and it's paid off. I mean, I ran a tweet that as an example, that I was looking for somebody to run our Hong Kong office, and I got 9, and I also put it on my LinkedIn status, and I got 9 seriously considerable candidates. Right. And we actually offered one of those people the job. He didn't accept it. That's kind of not the point. How else would I from Sydney recruit somebody to run our Hong Kong office? You'd have to hire a recruiter. There are people who specialise in doing that at a large fee, or I'd have to run an ad in the South China Morning Post, which cost $20,000. I ran a tweet and got 9 meaningful candidates. It's incredible. And that's because I've got 5,000 followers, the majority of which are recruiters. So when I tweet that, it actually goes, I would argue, probably more people would see that than if I ran an ad in the South China Post.
Because it's very targeted.
Very targeted.
Yeah.
And I've got credibility because I've been working. So if I run a tweet, it's not just a job ad. It's, that guy that I read his blog is looking. I might think about that.
Yeah.
It's very, very powerful if you invest the time. Going back to your question,
exactly.
Investment of time.
Yeah. Don't expect it to happen in 6 months or 9 months, but expect to put in a good 12 months of effort.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Greg, it's been great to talk to you today, and thank you for your time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for yours. Okay. It's a pleasure to be interviewed by you. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Greg.